And we'll move to item 7E, which is approval of expenditures for enhanced student access to computers.
Mr. Potter is not here tonight, but we thought we should present to you current plan for some increased technology. Last year we piloted a mobile network lab at the high school, and that has found to be very, very successful. So Mr. Potter is recommending that we have 3 more mobile carts with 30 network computers there. Basically, each of the core content areas will have their own mobile lab, and so math, social studies, science, and English. And of course, we still have the rooms with computer labs in them as well. The cost of that would be approximately $40,000. And then we also would like to purchase a piece of equipment that would increase our Wi-Fi connections from a fixed quantity that we have right now, which is 25 access points, to 50 with the potential of being able to access up to 500 Wi-Fi spots. And that's going to continue to be important as we get more and more technology in our schools. I think especially as we probably look towards more students bringing in their pieces of technology that we use in our buildings as well. So that piece of equipment is $15,000. So we're looking at a $55,000 expense. There is money in the budget for this based on last year Mr. Potter was able to get some things at the end of the year, and so he does have finances available to purchase these for this year. And it's still not cutting into our Microsoft monies yet. So although we do need to start looking at
this was a item was budgeted, and we had some discussion is actually if we needed to, and that was part of the reason why I put the purchasing policy as a finance committee discussion, because if you read that policy and you pre-approved budgets, which Mr. Potter's technology budget is pre-approved, would maybe say, you know what, this doesn't need to be approved at the full board. Certainly the $15,000 did not need to be, but because of the cost and that it was a pilot program last year, that we felt that we needed to bring it back in front of the board for approval, so that you knew we're moving now from a pilot program into a new program with computers.
I make a motion that we approve this, and I feel very strange making that motion because I myself am not very illiterate as far as electronics, but I do very much believe that's the future. And as a book lover, I feel like I'm portraying something by saying that, that's how they're going to be learning in the future, is not by books, but by laptops and computers, and everything's going to be on that. So this is a step in the right direction for our kids for the future.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second then to approve the expenditure of $55,000 for the purchase of the 3 more mobile carts with 30 netbook computers each, and the $15,000 for the controller to increase our accessibility to wireless. Any further discussion, questions?
I would like to know just a little more specifically how these are used.
Well, currently what will happen is teachers will be in the content areas will be signing them out and bringing them to their classroom. So whether they have students taking exams on the tablets, whether they have them doing research on the internet, there's a wide varieties of things that they could be doing, but it's classroom teachers that are signing up to utilize the labs. They'll be bringing them into their classroom. Students will be then using the devices for learning.
One of the other driving pieces behind this is I believe we have 3 computer labs at the senior high school right now, which is not enough, really technically enough labs to accommodate all the students and the needs, whether it's for exam or the Project Lead the Way program that's coming up here. The mobile labs will take care of 2 issues. It'll create another lab, and it'll also solve some of the space issue, physically having to have another room to put the computers in, so they'll be on carts
when we approved textbook orders and stuff this last time, some of it wasn't actually books, it was electronic programs.
There's supposed to be the books and the updates available online, and I did speak with Mr. Potter a couple weeks ago about this, and he indicated that there were a number of textbooks that have met that criteria and that they were aggressively looking to incorporate that. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the students that can connect to it or the parents through Infinity, but there'll be some way for us to connect to it very shortly, to the textbooks that were electronic. And the neat thing with that is as the books are updated, the updates are immediate, as opposed to the paper books, which would require a physical update. And you're right, Pam, there's something to the feel of a book. It takes a while to get used to your e-reader, but once you do.
But in business, that's where the kids are going to be going, is electronic.
Yep.
One of the biggest concerns that has been raised by the high school teachers is just the issue of taking assessments on the computers, because that was a directive that we gave to teachers. We want you creating common assessments. We want them utilizing exam, the program that we had created here in the district, and they were saying, fine, but how do I get into a lab? So part of the initiative too is really to make sure that we're giving teachers the resources that they need to be able to follow up on the initiatives that we also are telling them that we expect them to be following in terms of creating those assessments and having the kids take it on computers.
So this presentation or this request for approval truly is the budget's already there. He's already got the funds. This is more for transparency.
Yes.
His sake.
Yes. Exactly. He's already been planning this at the start of the budget process.
But it's good to hear how they will be used, because that was my question too. I was wondering what the functionality of the mobile cart was, and it does make sense to have them set up that way. To me, that would be a lot easier to use than actually physically moving the students to a computer lab or meeting in a computer lab. It makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
And the technology has reached the point now where it's very usable. I mean, 5 years ago, even at the middle school, when they attempted little handheld devices, you had to be in one particular room because the connection wasn't good. And, some of our buildings create some problems with that, with as large as they are and with all the cement. So we need to have a number of different connections, and we need to be able to move those labs. Hopefully, maybe we can, I don't know if it's fair to say we'll ever eliminate a permanent lab, but we might be able to free up some classrooms by having more and more mobile labs.
The controller that he has here, is this distributed among more buildings than just the high school, or
The
is it?
controller, no, that would just be for the high school. Okay. More access points. It may be physically located at the district office, but that's my
Currently, but with the
brief
500,
understanding.
but it has the potential for 500, so I would think that it can go into other places as well.
Eventually, once you
Yes.
license it.
Yeah.
Any
I understand where John is coming from. Just a few years ago, and Pam related to reading books. My experience was just handling work for the National Guard with just a pencil or a pen. And all of a sudden, it was about 5 years ago, they put this computer in front of me. And then I become a board member, and they put the laptop in front of me. So, to make it interesting for people that are out in the audience and wonder about the expense, that's the way the future is. And I've learned to have to adapt to this with much help here in the board. At least 2 young ladies here that assisted me with handling this mechanism. So it's just a sign of what's going on in the future. And these kids of ours at the Toma High School need this to compete with what's out there. So that was the reason for my second. And I understand where John's coming from too. The expense is something that we need to do that.
I guess the reason why I even asked is I remember when Project Lead the Way came along. Yes, I'm all for getting our kids involved with technology. I know that's the future, but all of these things need to be put into some kind of context, and we were given the amount for extra computers. And sure, we can buy lots of extra computers, but they still need to be used in a productive way. I mean, just buying extra computers may make us just feel good and not be used in any real smart or productive way. Project Lead the Way, it sounds great, and I hope it is very good, but this was a fairly short description of for a significant expense, and so I do appreciate the context of, I guess, how they're going to be used and why we need that many extra computers. So I appreciate that context.
Yeah, I do too, because I had the same question, so I'm glad to know how the utilization is and how the initial pilot worked out well. So that's really good. Any further questions, discussion? I guess we can do another roll call vote.
Judy?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Ellen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
And Deb?
Yes.